as many foundational film industries worldwide as there are countries. In 2018, the world box office made revenue of about $42 billion. Hollywood and Nollywood are two examples of major film industries, with their respective dramatic works earning them a large chunk of their revenue. However, it's on the other side of the world in a different movie industry where we'll find this tale of murder most evil. Bollywood is well known for its sometimes 2-minute long, over-the-top sequences. It is a staple in the Hindi film industry, meant to show just how crucial every single split second is in high-tension situations. With such hyperbole embedded in this form of cultural art, you would never expect any movie to borrow largely from a true series of events. The Stoneman Murders, the 2009 movie directed by Manish Gupta, follows and embellishes a string of serial murders which followed the same name. The film grossed about $192,500, but it's the true story behind this film that pales the drama of Bollywood in comparison. This is the very real case of the Stoneman. Hey guys, Freaky Informer here. Thank you so much for the love you've been giving my channel. I honestly can't thank you enough. At the time of writing, I have 30 subscribers. Also, please bear in mind that this episode depicts scenes of extreme violence and death, with a warning to anyone under the age of 13. Now, let's get into the episode. The case of the Stoneman begins in 1985 Bombay, a city which we in current times now call Mumbai. This true tale is set in 1985. However, a killer wasn't officially accused until 4 years later in 1989. Two specific areas were under attack by a sadistic killer. The Stoneman's preferred locations of slaying were the Shiv, Bombay, and King Circle in Kolkata. 12 killings occurred in these areas in a little over 2 years, and the method of murder was more than macabre. Recent figures suggest that there are about 150 million homeless men, women, and children worldwide. 150 million human beings are left exposed to unfavorable weather conditions, hunger, and a multitude of health problems. 1/3 of all deaths worldwide are the homeless, but it's not just extreme temperatures and exposure that take their lives prematurely. Along with sex workers, homeless individuals are more likely to fall victim to random acts of violence. Many serial killers, such as the Stoneman, will only ever kill one class of victim. In the case of the Stoneman, every individual murdered was homeless. Please be aware that the next area of discussion denotes extreme violence and may be unsuitable for some listeners. The Stoneman's MO, or Modus Operandi, involved, as you may have guessed, a stone. But how on earth could a stone be the most prominent part of a serial killer's crimes? In the deep, pitch-black hours of darkness, the Stoneman approached their sleeping victims with great stealth. The stones used were often concrete blocks and slabs, picked up by the killer rather opportunistically. These small rocks were pieces of the collapsed city, the shantytown which kept so many in poverty, killed so many, and in so many different circumstances. Nobody can fight back when they're so exhausted that sleep refuses to let go, even at the loudest of noises. Stoneman only approached victims who slept alone, assuring that there would be no witnesses. Cruelly and callously, Stoneman then used a sometimes 30-kilogram or 66-pound rock to beat the sleeping victim. The calculated killer pummeled people's skulls and bodies into almost unrecognizable pulps. The focal point of these murders was always the head of the victim. The Stoneman's victims all fit the same characteristics: homeless loners with no family or close friends. Nobody could possibly identify their battered bodies, and because of this, the killings were low profile, therefore not meeting the standards of a police inquiry. It wasn't until the 6th victim was killed that local law enforcement realized that these killings, which were done in the exact same fashion, may somehow be related. Some small form of solace may be considered in the fact that these victims were gone from this world so suddenly and quickly that they may have never experienced pain or woken up during an attack. Would-be murder victim number 7 would live to tell the tale, and retain the physical and mental scars until his time comes. 7, with no other information available, had regained consciousness after the first strike of the Stoneman. By some form of miracle, the man survived to report this to local authorities. Though being the only surviving witness of the Stoneman, it was much too dark for 7 to see his attacker's face. He was the only known person to have outlived the killer's attempts to end lives. Not long after 7 reported the attempt on his life to local police, the 6th murder occurred in this area. The constabulary quickly attributed this most recent homicide to the individual they suspected of the previous 5 slayings, as well as the attempt to sever 7's life. As abruptly as these gruesome bludgeonings began, they ceased. No cases were reported in the sheave after this. The next branch of our tale takes place in Kolkata. Any individual who has studied population pyramids or similar geographical studies of people will know what's coming next. Kolkata, formerly known by the anglicised Calcutta, is truly the slum capital of the world. 1/3 of the area's residents live in unstable shantytowns, with so many people crammed into one less than sizable area. Disease is rife in these areas, and it can be assumed that the current coronavirus pandemic is decimating life in Kolkata. Shantytowns are filled with the impoverished, but they are at least lucky to have some form of shelter from harm. However, we're not here to focus on the present. Let's go back in time to a sweltering summer of fear and strikes from, possibly, our serial killer. The Stoneman was never directly linked to the murders in Kolkata. The brilliant law enforcement in the area were onto something though, when they realized that there was a serial killer stalking the streets. First, let's discuss central Kolkata's first killing. In June of 1989, yet another unknown individual had their skull bashed open. The cause of death, obviously, was ruled as such. Yet again, someone sleeping in solitary was approached with extreme stealth and murdered before they would even open their eyes. Over the next 6 months, 12 further homeless people would fall victim to the murderer, with an entire city gone mad with fright. Police patrolled constantly during the night in an attempt to protect Kolkata's citizens, but nothing came of these attempts. So, who was the Stoneman? It was assumed that the Stoneman was a tall, well-built male, due to the manner in which the killer operated. Unfortunately, the case of this killer is a cold case which may never be closed. With no actual evidence from eyewitnesses, there were few leads in the first place. In fact, the Sheave and King Circle strings of murders haven't even been officially connected. The only evidence ever left by the killer were the stones themselves, none of which were kept by the extremely competent investigative authority until one of the later 1989 murders occurred. Hundreds of known criminals were questioned, but nothing ever produced a single lead. So, I ask once again, who was the Stoneman? This killer's victims had nothing, no material values whatsoever. This eliminates the possibility of the killer being a comfort gain killer. Most likely, the Stoneman was a hedonistic murderer, killing for a feeling of lust or power. This case leaves more questions than I'm comfortable having. Was the Stoneman responsible for the string of murders in both cities? What about the scathingly familiar incidents in the city of Assam in February of 2009? There are very little reports on any of these accounts, but we know one thing for sure. The Stoneman, and their possible copycats in Kolkata and Assam, was a sadistic serial killer taking from the homeless the only thing they truly had in this world: their lives. Perhaps the Stoneman killed for the thrill. perhaps they believed it to be merciful. All we can know for sure is that the Stoneman could still be out there, waiting in the shadows for the day that their name isn't whispered in fear, waiting to strike. Hey there, Freaky Fanatic. This concludes our episode on the anonymous Stoneman serial killer. Please remember that I am not glorifying serial killers and I abhor what they do. I'm hoping this video spurs detectives in India to check the murder weapon for DNA evidence, which did not exist at the time of these crimes. We can't know for sure if they did because this case is very little documented. I do, however, have some advice. Be aware of your surroundings, never travel alone, and always look over your shoulder. Stay freaky, stay informed. It may save your life.